Hey yo, it's your boy Need Gore. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me. And today it is Saturday, so I'm here with a slasher review as part of the TheHORROrmans Slashback Slasher Challenge series. This week's theme is food slashers, so I'm going to be reviewing and quickly talking about Thru. So Thru centers around a group of teenagers. The main character within this movie is Mac, and basically it centers around her and her friends getting targeted by a clown. Now the clown is the mascot for the burger chain Hella Burger, and yeah, basically Mac and her friends are the targets of this particular fast food burger chain mascot. Now there is a little bit more to the storyline because something happened when Mac's mother was younger, when her mother was Mac's age, and it resulted in the death of a particular person. So as you can probably tell, this kind of is a revenge style slasher, but that's pretty much as far as I'll go with the plot, but you guys get the idea, I'm sure. So now we'll move on to my thoughts on Thru. I've seen this movie once before when I first picked it up many years ago, and I remembered thinking that it was pretty good. Now upon rewatching it, I'm guessing my opinions have changed a little bit because I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I previously remembered doing so. Now my main issue with this film, which I will get to more in depth throughout this review, is it almost doesn't really know what it wants to be. So essentially it's kind of half comedy, half seriousness when the storyline kicks in, and that's my biggest gripe that I have with this movie. But before we get on to that though, we'll talk a little bit about the location. So this one is centered in an upper class community, and it basically just takes place in the area pretty much where everyone lives. There's a few scenes in the Hella Burger burger restaurant, but not enough in my opinion. I really wish that they had focused a little bit more on the restaurant itself. That being said though, there's some pretty awesome scenes within the restaurant. There's some kills within the restaurant, which is pretty cool, but I kind of just wish there'd been more of a focus on the actual restaurant itself. So yeah, that's about it for the locations. In terms of the acting, I've got to say the acting is pretty good. I was pretty impressed with the acting, especially considering this one is made in the early to mid 2000s, I believe. And it's definitely, you can definitely tell, it's definitely a product of that time period when it comes to lower budget slasher movies, but the acting is pretty good, and I was especially impressed with Mac's character. She was the main character within this film, and I thought she did a really good job. Her character was interesting, and the whole storyline with her was pretty interesting as well. So yeah, the acting was pretty decent. The killer itself, I'm a little bit hit and miss on. I did have a few issues with the particular killer. So the killer is the burger chain's restaurant, and he's dressed up in a clown costume. Now the costume itself is pretty cool. It kind of reminded me of the band Kiss, you know how they wear those leather outfits with the spikes on them and they're pretty over the top looking. Well, that's sort of what the killer's outfit looked like within this movie, just in clown form. So the costume and the outfit was pretty cool, and I did like the mask. It kind of had like a high-tech clown mask look to it. However, the killer itself, I didn't really like too much. He basically spouted off one-liners left, right and centre, kind of like the way Freddy went in the latest sequels, and I didn't really like that. I get that he's a clown, but I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that when it comes to the killer. Plus he moved really fast for some reason. Every time he was on screen he was like super fast, and I didn't like that either. I thought that was a little bit weird and it didn't really work. So yeah, I'm a little bit hit and miss on the killer. But we'll go back to the major issue that I have with this film. So the biggest issue that I have with this film is that it kind of doesn't really know what it wants to be, I feel like. And the movie doesn't really work for me. So you have the comedic elements of the kills and the clown. The kills are also kind of on the funny comedic side. And there's a decent body count, but a lot of the kills are off screen. And the ones that you do see on screen, the effects are not the greatest. But in saying that though, the kills aren't bad. There's some good kills within this one. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was talking about with the comedy and seriousness. So there's an underlying storyline, and it gets more deep as the movie goes on, and Mac and her friends are trying to figure out why they're being targeted by this particular mascot from the burger chain restaurant. And she finds out that something happened when her mother was a teenager, and at this particular restaurant, and someone died. So basically it's like a revenge slasher. The killer is targeting the group of people that killed him within the restaurant years ago, and basically he's targeting their children. So there was that storyline going on, and it was like kind of a little bit more serious in tone, but then you'd have random kills happening throughout all that, and it just switched to the comedy element with the killer spouting off one-liners and just moving really, really fast. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I would have preferred if that either stuck to the comedy side of things or just had the movie as more of a serious thing. The two mixed together just didn't really work for me. So all in all, that's really all I have to say on Drive-Thru. Not a terrible slasher, but it's definitely not one that I can highly recommend. In saying that though, there's not too many slashers that I can think of that revolve around a fast food restaurant, so the theme was pretty cool, but I just felt that they could have implemented it a little bit better. I would have actually preferred this film to be similar to Intruder. So Intruder is set entirely in the grocery store, and I feel that this movie would have been a little bit better if it was perhaps set entirely in the fast food burger chain restaurant. But yeah, that's all I really have to say on this one. If you've seen this one, let me know what you think of it in the comment section below, and if you haven't and you're looking for kind of a throwaway slasher, you could do a lot worse. So I'd say it's at least worth a one-time watch. So there you go guys, that's been my review. Until next Saturday, when I'll be back with another one. I hope you've enjoyed this one. And I've been your boy Need Gore. You guys are awesome. Watch something scary today. Peace out.